The call wasn't supposed to stay connected. He thought he'd hung up. But when Maya's phone screen stayed lit, when his voice kept echoing through her Bluetooth speaker, the truth she'd been praying wasn't real finally broke her. It started with laughter. A woman's laughter. Then his voice was low, intimate, the tone he used to use only with her.
You really think I'd ever choose her over you?
Maya froze. Her heart started pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The man she'd trusted with her soul, the man who promised forever, was whispering another woman's name. Her hands trembled as she turned up the volume, desperate, terrified. And then came the sentence that shattered everything. She's too naive to ever suspect. Besides, I only married her for the money. The world seemed to tilt. Her phone nearly slipped from her hands. The same lips that kissed her every morning now spoke like her entire life was a joke. For 2 years, she'd defended him, to her friends, to her mother, to herself. But now, with one open call, she was hearing what they all tried to warn her about. As she stood there, tears streaming down her face, she didn't realize the call was still recording. Every cruel word, every lie. And what she did with that recording next would make him regret ever forgetting to hang up. Maya Thompson had always believed that love, real love, was built on truth. She had fought for it, prayed for it, and thought she had finally found it in Jordan. He was charming, thoughtful, and ambitious. The kind of man who remembered the little things. Her favorite coffee order. The song she hummed when she was nervous, the way she liked her pancakes slightly burnt. They met 3 years ago at a charity gala downtown Atlanta. She was volunteering at the registration table. He was a guest, suited up, flashing the kind of smile that could make a room stop breathing for a second. He asked for her number that night. And just like that, a love story began. Or so she thought. In the early days, Jordan was everything she had dreamed of. He opened doors, sent flowers to her office just because, and called her every night before bed. When her mother got sick, he drove her 3 hours every weekend to visit. He held her hand through the tears, whispered promises about forever, about family, about faith. People said they looked perfect together. Maya was a hard-working graphic designer who had built a name for herself freelancing for luxury brands. Jordan was an investor, always dressed sharp, always talking about the next big project. When he proposed a year later under a sky full of city lights, Maya said yes without hesitation. It felt like God had finally answered her prayers. Their wedding was elegant, small but beautiful. Friends and family filled the garden of a midtown hotel, surrounded by soft white roses and golden lights. Maya remembered crying through her vows, her voice trembling when she said, "I promise to love you, even when it's hard." And Jordan had smiled, that confident smile, cupping her face and whispering, "You'll never have to." For a while, he kept that promise. The first months of marriage were bliss. He'd come home with surprises. A new dress, dinner reservations, weekend getaways. They'd dance barefoot in the kitchen, share inside jokes, fall asleep wrapped around each other. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, something began to shift. It started with late nights. Jordan said he was networking, meeting potential investors, building partnerships. He'd come home past midnight, smelling faintly of cologne and whiskey. At first, Maya didn't think much of it. She trusted him. She wanted to believe he was working hard for their future. But the excuses grew. One missed dinner turned into a week of them barely talking. Calls unanswered. Texts left unread. When she finally asked Jordan what's going on, he brushed her off. "Babe, relax. You know how it is when I'm closing deals. You gotta let me focus." He kissed her forehead, smiled, and walked away. But something in that smile felt hollow. Maya's best friend Tasha wasn't convinced. She had always been protective, blunt, fiery, the kind of friend who called things as they were. "Girl, men don't work that hard without leaving a trail," Tasha said one night over wine. "You sure he's just at the office?" Maya hated the doubt in her best friend's voice. She hated that little voice in her own chest that whispered the same thing, but she pushed it aside. No, she told herself. Jordan wouldn't do that. He's my husband. He loves me. She wanted peace more than she wanted the truth. One night, about 8 months into their marriage, Maya woke up alone. The clock read 1:47 a.m. Jordan wasn't in bed. His side was cold. She got up, padded down the hall, and heard him talking, low, urgent, from his office. "I told you I'd handle it." "She won't find out," he was saying. Maya froze in the hallway. For a second, she thought about knocking, but something in her gut screamed, "Don't." The next morning, when she asked about it, he laughed it off. "You must have been dreaming, babe. I was on a late-night call with a client in London." She nodded, but inside the unease deepened. Weeks turned into months, and the distance between them grew like a crack in glass, spreading silently until it couldn't be ignored. Maya began noticing small things: the way he guarded his phone, how he stepped outside to take calls, how he suddenly changed passwords for security reasons. There were moments she'd wake up and catch him scrolling through messages, the screen's glow reflecting guilt across his face. When she tried to ask again, he snapped, something he'd never done before. "You don't trust me now? After everything I've done for you?" He made her feel small for even questioning him. And so she stopped asking. But love built on silence is love built on sand, and Maya could feel the ground shifting beneath her feet. Then came the call. It was a Sunday afternoon. Maya was in the kitchen cleaning up after lunch. Jordan said he was heading to a meeting with a potential partner. "Something big," he said, kissing her cheek quickly before grabbing his phone and leaving. He was in a rush, distracted scrolling through his contacts as he walked out the door. An hour later, Maya's phone rang. Jordan's name flashed on the screen. She smiled and picked up. "Hey, babe." But there was no response, only background noise, voices, laughter, the clinking of glasses. "Hello? Jordan?" she repeated. Still nothing. She was about to hang up when she heard a woman's voice. Smooth, flirty, laughing. "You really think she's buying all this?" Maya's stomach dropped. Her finger hovered over the end call button, but she didn't press it. Something told her to stay quiet. Then came his voice, low, familiar, dripping with charm. "Of course she is." Maya's naive like that, sweet but clueless. The world stopped. Every word hit her like a blow. She stood frozen in the middle of the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, heart racing so hard it hurt. "You're terrible," the woman giggled. "You really married her for the money?" And Jordan laughed. "Let's just say, she's my ticket to stability. Once this deal closes, I'll make sure you're taken care of." Maya's body went numb. Her husband, the man she loved, the man she defended, was sitting somewhere laughing about using her. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't hang up. She couldn't. She pressed her phone to the counter, hit record, and let it capture everything. For the next 10 minutes she listened. She listened as the woman called him baby. As he promised her trips a future, the same future he once promised Maya. She listened until the voices faded, until the sound of a car door closing signaled that the conversation was over. Only then did she hang up, her hands trembling so hard she could barely hold the phone. The silence in the house was suffocating. Maya stared at her reflection in the dark kitchen window. The tear-streaked woman staring back at her felt like a stranger. Hours passed before Jordan came home. He walked in like nothing had happened, whistling, loosening his tie. "Hey, babe," he said casually, "you okay?" Maya looked at him, really looked, and something in her broke. Every smile, every kiss, every promise replayed in her mind, tainted now by the truth. But she said nothing. "Not yet." "Yeah," she whispered. "Just tired." He smiled, kissed her forehead, and walked past her toward the shower. And that was the moment Maya decided she wasn't going to cry anymore. She was going to listen. She was going to watch. She was going to plan. Over the next few days, she became quiet, observant. Jordan noticed, of course, tried to charm her again, buy her gifts, cook dinner. But Maya had learned the language of lies now. She could hear the difference between "I love you" and "I need to keep you fooled." At night when he slept, she went through his briefcase, his laptop, his drawers. She wasn't proud of it, but the pain had turned into purpose. That's when she found it, the contract. Hidden inside a folder labeled "Client Agreements," she saw her name, her inheritance, her company shares, and Jordan's signature right beside hers, authorizing temporary transfer of control to him in the event of partnership restructuring. It wasn't love he was protecting. It was access. The next morning, Maya woke up before him. She stood in the doorway, watching him sleep, peaceful, unbothered, like the weight of deceit didn't even exist. For a long time, she thought about all the ways she could confront him, screaming, crying, demanding answers. But something told her that confrontation would only give him power. No, she needed to be smarter. She opened her phone and replayed the recording, the laughter, the lies, the sound of his betrayal. Then she saved it, uploaded it to the cloud, and sent a copy to her lawyer friend, disguised as a music file. Jordan didn't know it yet, but his naive wife had just started her own quiet war. And as the sun rose over Atlanta, Maya stood by the window holding her coffee, eyes empty but determined. The woman who once believed love conquered all was gone. What stood there now was someone colder, sharper, a woman who'd been broken but wasn't planning to stay that way. She whispered to herself, "You wanted stability, Jordan. Let's see how stable you feel when the ground disappears beneath you." And for the first time in months, she smiled. The morning after the call, Maya woke up with swollen eyes and a heart made of glass. But when she walked into the kitchen and saw Jordan sitting there, smiling, scrolling through his phone, sipping coffee like nothing had happened, something in her hardened. She realized that pain alone wouldn't change anything. Tears wouldn't fix betrayal. If she wanted justice, she'd have to build it, so she smiled back. Soft, gentle, practiced. "Morning, baby," she said. Her voice didn't even tremble. Jordan looked up, surprised. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," she lied, pouring herself coffee. Her hands didn't shake. "Not anymore." He leaned over, kissed her cheek. "Big week ahead," he said, already checking messages again. "That investor deal I told you about, it's finally coming through." Maya hummed in response, but inside she was memorizing every word, every excuse, every name he dropped. She had started a new habit, one Jordan didn't know about. Every time he mentioned a meeting, a call, or a project, she'd write it down in her notes app hidden under a grocery list. Dates, times, and details, because one day, all those little pieces would tell the real story. For the next few weeks, Maya played the part perfectly. She cooked his favorite meals, laughed at his jokes, even posted smiling photos of them on social media. Friends commented things like couple goals and "you two are perfect together." The irony almost made her laugh. Every night she watched him, how easily he lied, how casually he texted someone when he thought she wasn't looking. He'd take calls in the bathroom, whispering behind the closed door. But what Jordan didn't realize was that his naive wife had learned to record the house line. Every conversation that ran through that network, every sweet nothing and business deal was now automatically saved to a hidden cloud drive. Tasha noticed the change first. "Girl, you too calm," she said one afternoon when they met for coffee. "You found something, didn't you?" Maya hesitated, then slid her phone across the table. Tasha listened. The laughter, the lies, the sentence that broke Maya's heart, "I only married her for the money." When it ended, Tasha's jaw tightened. "Oh, he picked the wrong one," she said. "You want me to slash his tires or bury his career?" Maya managed a small smile. "Neither, not yet. I want him to watch his empire crumble with my name still on the door." Her first step was information. Jordan had been secretive about his business dealings, but she remembered enough to know where to look. Late at night, while he slept, she logged into his shared office account using a password she'd seen him type once months ago. It worked. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through documents, investment files, contracts, transfers. The numbers were shocking. He wasn't just cheating on her emotionally. He was stealing, using her name and the equity her father left her as collateral for risky investments under his own company. He was gambling with her legacy. Maya downloaded everything, backed it up, and sent it to her lawyer friend, Camille, one of the few people she trusted completely. Camille replied within hours. "Maya, this is bad. He could bankrupt you if you don't move fast." "I don't want to move fast," Maya replied. "I want to move right." She started building her trap piece by piece. Step 1, play dumb. Step 2, gather witnesses. Step 3, wait until he's too deep to crawl out. So she kept smiling, kept cooking, kept being the wife he thought she was. When he came home late, she greeted him with warmth. When he lied, she pretended to believe him. But behind that calm exterior, she was learning his patterns. Every Friday, he left at 6 p.m. claiming late meetings. He always came back smelling like vanilla perfume, not hers. So one Friday night, Maya followed. She didn't drive her car, too obvious. She took Tasha's instead, parking across the street from a restaurant downtown. And there he was, stepping out of his black Range Rover, adjusting his tie, and greeting her, the woman from the call, tall, elegant, with glossy hair and a laugh that carried arrogance like perfume. Jordan placed his hand on her lower back as they entered the restaurant. Maya recorded everything, not in anger, in silence. In control, she didn't confront him that night. She didn't even cry. She went home, made tea, and began drafting emails to lawyers, financial advisors, and most importantly, the board members of Jordan's investment firm. She didn't send them yet, but she would. When the time was right, days passed. Jordan grew bolder, thinking she was still blind. One night, while she pretended to be asleep, he whispered on the phone, "Baby, she's clueless. A few more weeks and I'll be done with her. We'll get that property signed under my name." Maya kept her breathing steady, her heart stone cold. She let him finish his call, let him slide back into bed beside her. He draped an arm over her waist, whispered, "Love you." Before falling asleep, she whispered back, "I know." By now, Maya had collected everything: voice recordings, screenshots, surveillance footage, bank statements, but she needed one last piece, proof that the other woman, Nadia, was involved, and fate handed it to her sooner than expected. One afternoon, Jordan forgot his laptop at home. A notification popped up, a message from Nadia. The preview line made Maya's pulse stop. "Can't wait till she's out of the picture. The account transfer's almost ready." Maya didn't open it. She didn't need to. She took a clear photo and emailed it to Camille with the subject line, "Final nail." Her lawyer replied within minutes, "Got it. Let me know when to pull the trigger." Maya's answer was simple, "Soon." That weekend, Jordan came home with flowers, red roses, like nothing was wrong. "You've been so patient with me lately," he said, pulling her close. "Things are about to turn around. I promise," Maya smiled softly. "I believe you." And she meant it, just not the way he thought. Behind the scenes, Maya began quietly shifting her assets. With Camille's help, she froze joint accounts, moved her inheritance, and secured all her personal finances under her maiden name. Jordan didn't even notice. He was too focused on his big deal, the one that would supposedly make them both rich. Maya knew that deal was his final move, the one that would expose him to everyone. She just needed him to sign one more document. A week later, he asked her to meet him at his office. "It's a surprise," he said with a grin. "Big announcement. I want you there." She went, dressed in white, calm, poised, radiant. The perfect wife. The office was buzzing. Staff moved around, congratulating Jordan, shaking his hand. He introduced her to investors, calling her "my rock, my queen." Maya smiled through every word. Then, as the crowd settled, Jordan placed a contract on the table. "Babe, I just need your signature here. It's a quick asset confirmation for our joint venture." Maya glanced down. The document title read, "Partnership Ownership Transfer." She almost laughed. He wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. "Of course," she said sweetly. "I trust you." She took the pen, signed her name with steady hands, and as she did, she activated the hidden voice recorder in her purse. "Thank you," Jordan said softly. "You won't regret this." "I know," she replied. He had no idea that she'd already sent the real signed version to her lawyer that morning, one that voided his authority entirely. That night, as he slept soundly beside her, Maya uploaded the final set of files to her private folder. Emails, audio, video, and contracts, and all labeled neatly, time-stamped, and backed up. The case was airtight, and she was done pretending. 2 days later, Jordan's firm announced a massive investor meeting, the one he'd been preparing for. He told her he wanted her there to celebrate their success, so Maya, dressed in elegance, slipped on her gold bracelet, the one that hid her recording device, and walked into the conference room like a queen stepping onto her throne. The investors sat waiting. Jordan began his pitch, flashing his signature smile, showing charts and projections, but halfway through his presentation the screen flickered. Once, twice, and then changed. A new file appeared. Audio recording 1228.mp3. The room fell silent. Jordan froze, and then his own voice filled the speakers. She's too naive to ever suspect. Besides, I only married her for the money. Gasps filled the room. Jordan's eyes darted to Maya. She just sat there, calm, cold, watching. Maya, what is this? He stammered. She tilted her head. The truth. And for the first time he realized he'd been outplayed. Within minutes, investors began walking out. Phones rang. Lawyers were called. Jordan's empire, his pride, his illusion, collapsed right there in front of everyone. He reached for her arm, desperate. Maya, please let me explain. She stepped back. Explain to them. You owe them more than me now. That night she packed her things and left. No dramatic goodbye, no note, no tears. She didn't look back when she closed the door. Outside, the city lights reflected in her eyes, bright, unyielding, alive. She took one last deep breath and whispered, You thought I was naive. You just never noticed I was learning. Then she walked away, heels clicking against the pavement, not as a broken wife, but as a woman reborn. When Maya left Jordan's office that night, she thought she was done, that the storm was behind her. But storms don't end that easily when you've destroyed a man who built his empire on lies. In the days that followed, chaos erupted. Jordan's firm collapsed overnight. Investors pulled out, clients demanded refunds, and the media picked up whispers of fraud. The story spread fast. Atlanta investor exposed by his own wife. Maya didn't read the articles. She didn't need to. She'd seen that look in his eyes. The moment his mask cracked, the panic. The disbelief that the woman he underestimated had taken him down. But what she didn't expect was how quickly he'd try to rebuild. Not his business, but his control. It started with calls. Dozens a day. Maya, please. Just talk to me. You've made your point, okay? Let's fix this. You're ruining both of us. She ignored them all. Then came the texts. Paragraphs of apologies, half-hearted confessions, and manipulative guilt trips. He told her he was sorry, that he'd been confused, that he still loved her. But Maya had learned something about apologies from men like him. They only mean it when they've lost power. She moved into a small apartment overlooking the city skyline. Quiet, peaceful, hers. The first few nights were strange. The silence pressed against her ears, unfamiliar yet liberating. No footsteps, no arguments, no lies. She spent her evenings sketching again, and something she hadn't done in years. Art had always been her escape long before she met Jordan. Her sketches turned darker now. Silhouettes of women standing over broken crowns, shattered glass, and stormy skies. And somewhere between those strokes of charcoal and tears, Maya began to feel herself coming back. But healing rarely happens without echoes. One afternoon, she got a call from Camille, her lawyer. Maya, you might want to sit down for this. Jordan had filed a lawsuit. Defamation, breach of confidentiality, unauthorized recordings, his last desperate attempt to make her pay. For a moment, fear returned. The same fear she felt the night she heard his voice on that open call. But then she remembered everything she'd built. Every piece of evidence, every documented file, every time-stamped betrayal. Let him try, she said calmly. He's fighting a battle I already won. The legal war began quietly but viciously. Jordan's lawyers painted him as the victim, a man whose emotional wife had misunderstood business conversations. They tried to discredit her recordings, question her motives, and even twist her pain into jealousy. But Camille was relentless. During depositions, she dropped evidence like bombs, bank records, internal emails, security footage. Each time Jordan's attorney opened his mouth, Camille shut him down with facts Maya had gathered months ago, and Jordan. He sat there across the table, silent, jaw clenched, watching his lies crumble piece by piece. For the first time, Maya didn't feel anger. She felt clarity. Power didn't come from revenge, it came from truth. But outside the courtroom, Jordan became reckless. He showed up at her apartment building one night, pounding on the door, drunk, his voice raw with rage and desperation. You ruined me, Maya, he shouted. Everything I built, gone. You think you won? Maya stood behind the locked door, hands shaking, and not from fear, but from restraint. Go home, Jordan, she said through the door. You did this to yourself. He punched the door so hard it rattled. "You'll regret this." She didn't respond. She picked up her phone and hit record, documenting every threat. When he finally left, she saved the file, another piece for the case, another reminder of why she could never go back. The next morning, she got a text. "Jordan, I'm sorry. I was drunk. I didn't mean that. Maya. You said what you meant. Jordan. Please. I need help. I need you. Maya. You needed me when I was still willing to believe in you." She blocked him after that, and for the first time, she felt free. Weeks turned into months. The lawsuit dragged on, but Maya stayed calm. Her story had spread beyond Atlanta. She became the quiet symbol of women who refused to be silenced by charm and manipulation. One morning, she received a message request from a stranger, a woman named Nadia. At first, Maya almost deleted it, but curiosity made her open it. "You don't know me, but you should. I was the other woman, and I'm sorry." The name hit her like a sting. Nadia. The woman from the call. The one who laughed while Maya's world fell apart. Nadia's message continued. "He lied to me too. Told me you were the one using him. Said you were cruel, cold, that he married you for convenience. I believed him. Until he did the same thing to me. Took money, made promises, then disappeared. He's broke now, Maya, desperate." Maya stared at the screen for a long time. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't tremble. She just felt empty. She typed back slowly. "You're not the first woman he's fooled. But I hope you're the last to forgive him." Nadia replied, "I'm not forgiving him. I'm warning you. He's been asking about you again." That night, Maya couldn't sleep. The thought of Jordan lurking around plotting something made her skin crawl. But fear didn't control her anymore. Preparation did. She installed security cameras, changed her locks, and carried a small taser in her purse. The old Maya would have hidden, hoped, prayed for safety. The new Maya made sure safety was something she built. A month later, the court finally ruled. Maya won. Jordan was ordered to repay the funds he'd taken and relinquish all legal rights to her assets. The recordings were ruled admissible as evidence, and his countersuit was dismissed. When the verdict was read, Jordan's face went pale. He looked at her, across the courtroom, defeated, and whispered something she couldn't hear, but she didn't need to. His silence said enough. She walked past him without a glance, heels echoing across the marble floor like thunder in a church. The woman who once begged him to stay was now untouchable. After the trial, Maya took time for herself. She traveled, alone, Paris, then Morocco, then a quiet beach in Jamaica. Each place felt like a piece of herself she was reclaiming. Laughter, lightness, freedom. In Paris, she stood under the Eiffel Tower and whispered to herself, "You survived everything that tried to break you." In Jamaica, she painted again, bold strokes of gold and red. A woman walking away from fire untouched. People often approached her asking what the painting meant. "It's not about revenge," she'd say softly. "It's about rising from the ashes." Months later, back in Atlanta, Maya's story went viral after a women's empowerment podcast featured her anonymously. She didn't name Jordan. She didn't have to. The message was bigger than him. "Forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion," she said in the interview. "Sometimes forgiveness means choosing peace and letting their guilt haunt them instead of you." The episode was shared thousands of times. Women from all over wrote to her. Strangers who said her story gave them the courage to leave, to speak up, to rebuild. For the first time, Maya realized something. Her pain had a purpose, but fate wasn't done testing her. One rainy night, as she walked to her car, she noticed a shadow by the parking lot. A figure stepped forward, soaked, unshaven, broken. Jordan. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes hollow, his arrogance gone. "You really did it," he said softly. "You destroyed me." Maya gripped her umbrella tighter. "You destroyed yourself, Jordan. You think you won," he said, his voice trembling. "I lost everything because of you." She took a step closer, her voice calm but sharp. "No, you lost everything because you thought I was nothing." He looked at her, a mixture of anger and regret clouding his eyes. "I loved you, Maya," she tilted her head. "You loved control, and I stopped giving it to you." He stared at her for a long time, rain dripping down his face. Then quietly he said, "You'll never find peace." Maya's answer was simple, powerful. "I already have." She turned and walked away, her reflection vanishing into the puddles. That night, as she lay in bed, Maya felt something shift inside her. For so long she'd lived with anger, fueled by the need to prove, to punish, to win. But now, she didn't need to win. She just needed to be. She thought about everything, the laughter, the lies, the pain, and realized that vengeance wasn't what healed her. It was reclaiming her story. She was no longer the woman who waited for apologies, no longer the wife who begged for honesty, no longer the girl who mistook manipulation for love. Maya Thompson had burned through the fire, and she wasn't ashes. She was the flame itself. Maya didn't sleep that night. She sat on the edge of the bed staring at the wedding photo on the dresser. Her in white, smiling so wide her cheeks hurt, Jordan's arm around her waist, his eyes full of promise. Now she could see it clearly. That same smile that once felt like safety was nothing but disguise. Her chest felt hollow, yet something darker stirred inside her. Not just heartbreak. Not yet rage. Something quieter, a dangerous calm. By morning, she had decided, he won't know I know. When Jordan walked into the kitchen, freshly showered, humming like nothing was wrong, Maya was already making breakfast, pancakes the way he liked them. Her face soft, her voice steady. He smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and said, "You're spoiling me, baby." Maya smiled back, her hand trembling slightly as she flipped the pancake. Inside, her heart whispered, "I'm spoiling the last days of your peace, the art of pretending." In the following days, she became a master of control. She still laughed at his jokes. She still sent him little texts. She still touched his arm when he spoke, just like before. But her phone was always near, recording. Whenever he took a call and stepped out of the room, she hit record before he even reached the hallway. When he left for late meetings, she checked his location history through his shared calendar access. Every secret became a breadcrumb. Every lie became a map. And slowly she began piecing together the truth. The name of the woman, Elena, a co-worker he claimed barely spoke to him. The hotel receipts under business expenses. The extra phone number hidden under a fake contact name. Mason, accounting. Each discovery hurt, but each also gave her power. Sometimes she'd sit alone in the living room, lights off, replaying their voices, his soft laughter, Elena's whispering giggle. Her tears would fall silently, but by the end of each recording her expression would harden. "You'll choke on every word you said," she whispered to the empty room. A week later, Maya visited her best friend, Tasha, the only person she trusted. Tasha opened the door, immediately sensing something was off. "Maya, girl, what's going on? You look..." "Tired." Maya sat on the couch, clutching her phone. She pressed play. For the next 5 minutes, the room filled with Jordan's voice. Smooth, confident, cruel. When the recording ended, silence stretched between them. Tasha exhaled sharply. "Maya, you need to leave him. Right now." Maya shook her head. "Not yet." "Not yet?" "Maya, he's playing you." "I know. But I want him to feel it. Not just lose me. I want him to lose everything he built on my love." The steadiness in Maya's tone made Tasha fall silent. That was the moment Tasha realized her friend wasn't broken. She was transforming. A smile that lied that weekend, Jordan suggested dinner out. "Just us," he said. Maya agreed. She wore the red dress he bought her last anniversary. He always said it was his favorite. "Makes you look like fire." As they sat across from each other at the restaurant, she listened to him talk about work. Fake smiled at his stories, nodded as if nothing had changed. He reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. But her smartwatch was recording everything. She asked casually, "So, how's Elena? I remember you said she was struggling with that new campaign." He paused, and just a flicker. Then laughed. "Oh, she's fine." "Why, you jealous?" Maya laughed too. "Should I be?" His grin was confident, smug. "Never, baby. You're the only one I want." For a moment, her chest tightened. Part of her still wanted to believe it. But then she remembered his whisper on that call. "I only married her for the money." Her smile sharpened like glass. "Good. Because I'd hate to see what would happen if I wasn't." He chuckled. You'd kill me, huh? Maya looked him dead in the eyes. Something like that. Shadows behind the door nights became her battlefield. She'd wait until he was asleep, then slip out of bed and move quietly to his office. She learned his passwords, his emails, his backup drive, where she found something unexpected, not just romantic betrayal, financial betrayal. He'd been transferring money from their joint investments to a private account. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the documents. He'd been planning his escape, slowly draining her trust fund, ready to disappear once he was done with her. Maya's eyes burned, but she didn't cry this time. Instead, she smiled, a slow, eerie smile. Thank you for showing me who you are, Jordan. She copied everything, sent backups to her private cloud, then returned to bed, curling beside him like nothing had happened. His arm wrapped around her waist. She whispered softly, I love you, he mumbled half asleep. Love you too, and in that whisper, she heard the echo of his lie. The mirror scene one morning, Maya stood before the mirror, staring at herself, dark circles, hollow eyes, trembling fingers clutching a hairbrush. This isn't me, she whispered. He doesn't get to destroy me. She placed the brush down, straightened her back, and began to apply her makeup. Slowly, deliberately. Each layer was a piece of armor. Foundation for strength, lipstick for defiance, perfume for control. When she looked up again, the broken woman was gone. In her reflection stood someone new, composed, calm, dangerous. That day she began documenting everything. Not just recordings, but timestamps, screenshots, receipts, a private archive of betrayal. It wasn't about proving it anymore. It was about owning it. He thought she was too naive. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Unseen cracks, but pretending had its cost. At night, when Jordan would wrap his arms around her, she'd stare at the ceiling, her heart aching so bad it felt like her chest might split open. Sometimes she'd step into the shower just to cry quietly, letting the water drown the sound. There were moments when she almost confessed, almost screamed the truth into his face, but each time she'd close her eyes and remind herself, not yet. Because when the truth finally came out, it wouldn't be a fight. It would be a reckoning. A dangerous slip one evening, while Jordan was in the shower, his phone buzzed. Elena, can't stop thinking about last night. Maya's pulse quickened. She snapped a screenshot, sent it to her secure drive, and then deleted the message, marking it unread. But when Jordan came out and checked his phone, his brow furrowed slightly. Did you see my phone light up? He asked casually. Maya smiled faintly. No, why? He shrugged, kissing her cheek. No reason. That night, she noticed him locking his phone with a new password. He was growing cautious. She'd have to move faster. The breaking point. 2 weeks later, Maya followed him, quietly, carefully.
He said he had a client meeting downtown. Instead,
He parked outside a boutique hotel. From across the street, Maya sat in her car, watching as Elena stepped out, wearing the same dress Maya had once worn to his birthday dinner. Her fingers tightened on the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. She recorded a video, him kissing, Elena in the parking lot laughing, his hands around her waist. Proof, undeniable. But instead of bursting out of the car, Maya stayed still. Tears blurred her vision, but she kept the camera steady. She whispered to herself, "This is the last time I cry for you." The calm before the storm. That night, Jordan came home smelling faintly of another woman's perfume. Maya greeted him with a soft smile, dinner on the table. He kissed her cheek, oblivious. "Long day, baby," he said. "I can imagine," she replied. "You look tired." They ate in silence. He scrolled through his phone and she quietly placed her hand over his. "You know I love you, right?" she said sweetly. He looked at her, slightly surprised. "Of course I do." "Good," she whispered. "Because love can turn into something else, if you don't treat it right." He chuckled, thinking she was joking, but when he looked up again, there was something in her eyes that made his smile falter. For the first time, Jordan felt a chill run down his spine, though he didn't know why. End of rising action over the next few days. Maya's mask held firm, but inside she was burning. The pain, the rage, the betrayal, it was all being refined into precision. The evidence was ready. The recordings organized. The documents backed up. All that remained was timing. She'd let him walk right into his own downfall. And when he did, When the truth spilled into the open, the same voice that once said, "I only married her for the money," would beg for mercy. But Maya wouldn't be listening. Because the woman who once needed his love no longer existed. Only the one who would make him remember every cruel word he ever said, forever. The night of their anniversary arrived like a cruel joke. The house was glowing, candles, champagne, soft music, and the low hum of chatter. Friends, family, and Jordan's colleagues filled the living room, laughing, raising glasses, congratulating them on 5 years of love. Love. The word felt foreign now, hollow, poisonous. Maya moved through the crowd like a ghost in silk. Her white dress shimmered under the chandelier, elegant and calm, though inside her heart thudded like thunder behind glass. She'd planned every detail. The playlist, the food, even the projector that would play their anniversary slideshow. Jordan had no idea that this would be the last night his world existed as he knew it. The calm before the fall, baby. "You look amazing," Jordan said, wrapping an arm around her waist as guests turned to look. He smelled like cologne and lies. "Thank you." Maya smiled, voice smooth as wine. "I wanted tonight to be unforgettable." He grinned, completely unsuspecting. He thought she was still the woman who adored him, the one too kind, too trusting. The toast began. 5 years of marriage, Jordan declared, raising his glass. 5 years with the most beautiful, loyal, loving woman in the world. Applause, cheers, cameras flashing. Maya smiled at him, but her eyes were unreadable. Her turn came next. She lifted her glass, gaze sweeping across the room. "To love," she said softly. "To truth," a pause. "And to the moments that reveal who we really are." The room grew quiet. Jordan frowned slightly, sensing a shift, the unraveling. "Before we cut the cake," Maya continued, "I want to show everyone a short video I made. Something special for Jordan." He laughed. "A video? You're too much, baby." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, too much." She picked up the remote and pressed play. The lights dimmed. The guests turned toward the projector screen. Soft piano music started. The first images appeared. Wedding photos, their honeymoon, family moments. Jordan's arm around her, laughing, smiling, and the perfect couple. Everyone cooed. "Ah, you two are perfect together." But then, the music stopped. A new clip began to play. The audio was faint at first, muffled, static-filled, and then clear. Jordan's voice. "You really think I'd ever choose her over you?" Elena, laughing. "She seems so sweet." Jordan. "She's naive. Besides, I only married her for the money." Gasps rippled through the room. The guests exchanged stunned glances. Someone whispered, "Is that Jordan?" Jordan froze, color draining from his face. "Maya, what is this?" he demanded, stepping forward, but she didn't answer. The recording continued. Jordan, laughing. "She doesn't suspect a thing. Poor girl still believes I'm working late." Laughter from the recording. Then silence. Maya stopped the video and turned the lights back on. Every eye in the room was on them. Jordan's voice cracked, trying to recover control. "Maya, that's out of context." You spliced something out of context?" she interrupted softly. Her voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. "You've been lying to me for months, lying to everyone here. Every business trip, every meeting, all of it with her." "Maya, please, let's talk privately," he pleaded, sweat beading on his forehead. "Oh, now you want privacy?" she said, stepping closer. "You didn't think about privacy when you whispered her name in my bed, when you drained our accounts, when you mocked me to your mistress." "Maya, stop." "No," she snapped, the calm breaking. "You stop." Her voice echoed through the stunned room. For a long moment, all anyone could hear was the sound of her breathing. Heavy, uneven, but strong. The truth unleashed. "I loved you," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "I gave you everything, and my trust, my time, my money, my loyalty. And you stood in front of these people, pretending to be the perfect husband while using me as your safety net." She turned to the crowd. "Everyone here has heard Jordan talk about how he built his success. What he doesn't mention is who paid for it. Every investment, every deal, my savings, my inheritance. The money he said he'd double for our future." A murmur swept the room. "Maya, that's not fair," he stammered. "I was going to—" She raised a hand. "You were going to leave. I saw the transfer requests, Jordan. You were weeks away from vanishing with her, with our money. The crowd gasped again. Jordan's mother covered her mouth. His business partner stepped back in disbelief. Maya reached for her phone and pressed play again. Another recording. Jordan. By the time she finds out, I'll be gone. I'll have everything I need. The room erupted. Voices whispering, muttering. Jordan lunged toward her. Maya, enough. But two of his friends grabbed him, holding him back. She stood firm. No, Jordan. It's finally enough, the collapse. He looked around, eyes wild. You all believe this? You think but no one spoke. Every face had turned cold. Maya stared at him, her tears finally spilling, and not from sadness, but release. You once said I was too naive to suspect anything, she whispered. You were right. I didn't. Because I believed in love. Because I believed in you, Jordan's voice cracked. Maya, please, we can fix this, she shook her head slowly. You can't fix what you destroy on purpose. From the corner, Tasha appeared and holding a small folder. She handed it to Maya silently. Maya opened it and tossed a document onto the table. Divorce papers, she said. Already signed on my end. And just so you know, the account transfers you made, I reversed them. Every dollar is back where it belongs. Jordan's knees buckled slightly. You can't do this. I already did, she said. The final blow, she turned to the guests once more. I'm sorry to bring this into your evening, but sometimes the truth doesn't knock politely. It crashes through the door and demands to be seen. Then, looking back at Jordan, she added softly, this was supposed to be our anniversary. But I realize now it's my freedom day. He fell silent, eyes glistening, hands trembling. Maya, I made a mistake. You made choices, she corrected. And tonight I'm making mine. She stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. I want you to remember this moment, Jordan. Every time you think about what you lost, remember that you didn't lose me. You threw me away. Then just loud enough for the crowd to hear, she whispered. And you'll spend the rest of your life wishing that call really had ended. The exit. The room was utterly silent. Maya turned, set her glass on the table and walked toward the door. The soft click of her heels echoed like a drumbeat. People parted for her as she passed, stunned. Some looked at her with pity, others with awe. Tasha followed her, whispering, You okay? Maya exhaled shakily, but a faint smile touched her lips. For the first time in a long time, yes. Behind her she could hear Jordan shouting, pleading, denying, breaking. But his voice grew fainter as the door closed. Outside, the night air hit her face like freedom. The weight she'd carried for months lifted, replaced by a quiet strength. She looked up at the stars, the same ones they'd once wished on together, and whispered, Thank you for forgetting to hang up. The morning after the party, silence filled the mansion that had once echoed with laughter and luxury. For years it had been the symbol of Maya and Jordan's success, but now it felt like an empty museum. Every photo frame a ghost, every wall humming with the lie that had finally shattered. Maya had left before dawn. No note, no explanation, just absence, and the one thing Jordan could never control. When he woke, the housekeeper refused to meet his eyes. His phone buzzed endlessly, vibrating against the marble floor like a ticking bomb. The world knew. Everyone knew. Someone had filmed the entire confrontation, Maya's calm voice exposing him, her evidence displayed on the anniversary projector, the gasps, the silence that followed. It was everywhere now. Twitter, Instagram, even news blogs had picked it up. Wife confronts wealthy entrepreneur at anniversary dinner, catches him red-handed. In the video, Jordan's face looked stunned, small and cowardly. The man who prided himself on control had been stripped bare in front of everyone that mattered. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the reflection of himself in the mirror. But it didn't look like him anymore. His phone rang again. His business partner. Jordan. The board saw the video. Investors are pulling out. The PR nightmare is everywhere. We can't afford this scandal. He didn't argue. He couldn't. By noon, he was suspended from the company he had built. By evening, his bank accounts were frozen pending investigation into questionable expenses Maya had quietly flagged through her lawyer. She hadn't just left. She had planned her exit like a strategist, ensuring every paper trail revealed the truth. He walked through the living room, noticing something odd. Half the furniture gone. The art, the photos, even her favorite vase, all removed overnight. She hadn't just walked away. She'd erased herself from his world. For the first time, Jordan realized she hadn't reacted. She'd prepared. Meanwhile, Maya sat by the ocean, the sound of waves whispering against the shore. The air smelled like salt and rebirth. She had rented a quiet cottage 2 hours away where nobody knew her name. Her lawyer had taken care of everything, her accounts unfrozen, her share of the company secured, the divorce papers already served. She didn't want half of what he owned, just what was rightfully hers and her peace. Her phone buzzed again. Jordan. She watched the screen light up with his name. Once it made her heart race. Now it just flickered like a dying bulb. She let it ring and ring. Then she blocked him. Over the next few weeks, Jordan's world crumbled. The scandal didn't just fade, it grew. The mistress, pressed by reporters, tried to deny everything, then turned against him, claiming he'd promised her money and manipulated her. More headlines. More disgrace. His friends stopped answering his calls. His family, embarrassed and angry, withdrew their support. Even his mother, who once adored Maya but dismissed her as too ambitious, sent her a quiet message. "I'm sorry. You deserved better." That message meant more to Maya than she expected, not because it erased the pain, but because it proved the truth always finds light. Jordan tried to fight back. He hired PR teams, lawyers, even tried to call Maya through mutual friends. Every door was closed. Every plan backfired. His arrogance had turned into isolation. He began staying indoors, curtains drawn. His phone gathered dust, and every night he replayed the video. Not the shouting or the shame, but her face. The way she didn't yell, didn't curse. She just said, "I hope you never forget the sound of my silence." He hadn't. It haunted him. Months passed. Maya thrived quietly. She opened a small consulting firm with 2 other women, all of whom had left toxic relationships of their own. They called it the Renewal Group. Their mission: help women rebuild careers, confidence, and financial stability after betrayal or divorce. Her story had gone viral, but she never gave interviews. She didn't need to explain herself. Her silence had already spoken louder than any headline. One evening, she sat at her desk reviewing papers when her assistant brought in an envelope. No return address. Inside, a letter written in Jordan's handwriting. "Maya, I don't expect forgiveness. I just need to say it. You were my anchor, and I cut the rope myself. I thought power made me untouchable, but losing you showed me I was already drowning. I've lost everything. The company, the respect, the image. But what I regret most is the peace you carried, the calm I took for granted. I see that now. Wherever you are, I hope you find happiness, the kind I was too blind to give you." Maya folded the letter slowly. No tears, no smile, just quiet understanding. She placed it in a drawer, and not as a memory, but as a lesson. Weeks later, at a charity event for women entrepreneurs, a reporter approached her. "Mrs. Wells," they said, "do you ever regret how it ended?" She smiled softly. "No, because it didn't end, it began. The woman I am now couldn't have existed back then." Her words spread online again, but this time the headline wasn't about scandal. It was about strength. Woman turns betrayal into empowerment, inspires thousands. As for Jordan, he eventually sold the mansion, his cars, his company shares. He moved into a modest apartment. His days were quiet, filled with the sound of what-ifs. One day, while walking through a bookstore, he saw a magazine cover. Maya on the front, standing beside a banner that read, "From Broken to Brilliant." He stopped. For a long moment, he just stared. The world she built no longer had space for him, and that realization didn't sting anymore. It simply ached, like an echo of what he'd destroyed with his own hands. He put the magazine back and left the store. Outside, the sun was setting, the same kind of golden light that once used to fill their living room. He paused, whispering to himself, "She deserved more than I ever gave her." And for the first time in years, he meant it. Maya, miles away, watched the same sunset from her office window. The horizon glowed like fire, melting into peace. She thought of everything she'd lost or undone, and everything she'd gained. Sometimes peace isn't quiet. It's earned. She closed her laptop, walked outside, and breathed deeply. The kind of breath you take when you realize you've finally come home to yourself. Maya stood on the terrace of her new office, watching the city lights shimmer beneath the night sky. The air felt different, Not heavy like before, but alive, filled with freedom. Behind her, the sound of her team laughing echoed faintly. Life had moved on, and so had she. A soft breeze brushed her cheek, carrying the scent of rain. She thought of the woman she used to be, the one who waited for his calls, who believed that love meant sacrifice. That woman had cried herself to sleep for someone who didn't deserve her loyalty. But that woman was gone. She whispered to herself, almost like a prayer. Sometimes losing what you thought you needed is how you find who you really are. Maya smiled, not out of triumph but peace, because she finally understood. Closure doesn't come when they apologize. It comes when you forgive yourself for staying too long. She turned away from the view, ready to head home. On her desk lay a framed quote she'd written during her darkest days. "The same fire that burns you can light your path if you learn how to walk through it." It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about growth. As she walked through the office, greeting her staff, she realized that the strength she'd built wasn't from surviving his betrayal. It was from learning to love herself again. The applause of others, the sympathy from strangers, none of it mattered as much as the quiet truth within her. She was whole. She was free. Meanwhile, Jordan sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through old photos, birthdays, vacations, their wedding day. Every image was a reminder that success meant nothing when your soul was empty. He finally understood that respect once lost cannot be bought back, and love once broken doesn't return. It evolves into wisdom for the one who endured it. He whispered to the empty room, "She didn't destroy me. I did." Then softly and almost gratefully, and he smiled. Because maybe deep down even he knew Maya's peace was the best outcome for them both. She walked away not because she stopped loving him, but because she started loving herself more. And that's the lesson. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. But when life shows you what you deserve, never settle for less. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting them back in. It means freeing yourself from the pain they left behind. Never let betrayal turn you bitter. Let it turn you wiser, because the most powerful revenge is peace.